Come on. Oh, these stupid things have grown again, haven't they?
Alright, let's just get straight to it. Why is anime so fixated on big boobs? I mean, pretty girls. It's almost like their cup size is more important than the actual story. Or does the size of the chest bring its own story with it? Yeah, we're getting into that conversation. The girls in anime are becoming more and more popular with all those creepy old men out there. Also, before you roll your eyes, let me just make it clear to you that this question pops up in the minds of anime watchers and non-anime watchers alike. Because let's be real, this trope is literally everywhere. Popular anime like High School DxD, featuring characters like Rias Gremory or Fairy Tail with Lucy Heartfilia, are well known for their sexualized depictions of female characters. One Piece also features characters like Nami and Nico Robin, whose designs emphasize this aesthetic. But what exactly is the reason behind the crazy popularity of this trope? Is it some deep cultural reason, or is the fan service just going wild? Either way, we're going to explore why anime seems to be so obsessed with this particular aesthetic choice. Well, normally nobody wants to know the history, especially not in this topic. You just want to see examples from those, well-endowed anime girls, am I right? Well, but the evolution of anime design and most importantly the impact of Western influence that's done nothing but made things, well, bigger, are actually very interesting, if you know what I mean. Believe it or not, this aesthetic choice is not a recent invention. It actually dates back to Japan's cultural history, where traditional depictions of beauty already emphasize certain physical traits. Over time, this influence of Western media and the growth of fan service in the anime industry have taken these traits and, let's just say, enhanced them even more. So while the trope of big boobs might seem like a modern trend, it's actually part of a much longer cultural and artistic evolution that's just gotten more exaggerated over the years. Let's go back to the early days of anime, the post-World War period when Japan's anime industry made its fresh new start. The early designs? They were pretty much very simple. Remember Astro Boy? Yeah, that level of simplicity. The characters had round faces, small bodies, and most importantly, very big eyes. Why? Because the godfather of anime, Osamu Tezuka, was very much into Disney style. Remember Bambi? She had big, beautiful eyes that could melt your heart. Tezuka took that concept and ran with it, creating characters whose oversized eyes were designed to express emotions in a way that traditional Japanese art didn't really go for. The ideal woman of post-war Japan was all about innocent looks, nurturing, and of course physically appealing. Women of post-war Japan were expected to be wholesome and always smiling gracefully. Basically, they were expected to be everything about home life. Early anime reflected this, giving us female characters who were kind, soft-spoken, and well, perfect in their roles as emotional support systems for the male protagonists. Take, for example, Sane Furukawa from Clannad, a classic portrayal of this ideal. She's soft-hearted, always caring for her family, and is the emotional anchor that holds everything together. If we look at early family characters in anime like Sane, they are often portrayed as the nurturing figures who keep everything grounded while the male protagonist embarks on their adventures. They're beautiful, yes, but their beauty is tied to their innocence and nurturing qualities, idealized versions of what a woman should be in post-war Japan. Let's go forward a few decades. Now, this was the time when things really started to change. By the 1980s, the character design started to get, let's just say, more stylized. The eyes of the anime women got bigger, hair got wilder, and yes, their figure became more pronounced. All of a sudden, it was not enough for the anime women to be cutesy and demure. They had to be hot, stunning, and larger than life to fit that exaggerated idea of beauty. That was the start of the new era of big eyes, big hair, and of course, big boobs. A prominent example of one of the earliest popular anime characters with enhanced sexual features is Fujiko Mine from Lupin 3. Fujiko, introduced in the late 1960s, stood out for her overtly sexualized portrayal, breaking away from the traditionally modest and nurturing depiction of women in earlier anime. She's known for her voluptuous figure, seductive charm, and cleverness, often using her beauty and cunning to manipulate situations to her advantage. Fujiko's character represents a shift in how female characters were depicted, adding a layer of sexual allure while maintaining a sense of independence and agency. which was unusual for that era. Her popularity marked a turning point in anime, influencing the portrayal of female characters with enhanced sexual features in latter works. Now you'd ask why the exaggeration and extreme aesthetics. You see, people saw anime as an excellent form of escapism. After all, when you're creating a fantasy world, you don't really have to stick to reality, right? Female characters became this exaggerated version of beauty, appealing to the fantasies of the audience, whether that meant unrealistic proportions or perfectly polished looks. Also, let's be real, anime has never been shy about appealing to specific, male demographics with this visual style. Remember when Japan's economy started bouncing back? Yeah, that was the time when the entertainment industry, specifically the anime industry, saw a big opportunity. But who were they actually targeting? You guessed that right, young men and teenagers. This demographic had everything the anime industry needed: time, money, and raging hormones. Now, to get the attention of the dominant male audience, the anime studios started making the bodies of anime women more visually appealing. Innocence and demureness? Yeah, sure, it was still there, but it had been sprinkled with exaggerated figures, including, big boobs. It was all about market appeal, baby. The more eye-popping and over-the-top anime women, the better chance for an anime to grab and keep the attention of a young male audience. I mean, it was just like a visual sugar rush. The flashier, the better. That's why you started seeing female characters with impossibly big eyes, dramatic proportions, and let's not forget, a noticeable focus on certain, assets. The idea was to keep the male viewers tuned in and coming back for more, whether it was for the action or, something else. You see, anime didn't stay in Japan's bubble for long. As it started to travel globally, specifically in the West, it started picking up global trends and Western beauty ideals. And let's be real, the West has this thing for exaggerated feminine features from Hollywood. In Western media, the journey of women's portrayal had been a wild ride. It started from the glamorous beauty of Marilyn Monroe to today's beauty where curves are everything. But hey, curves without a thin waist doesn't fit this standard of beauty, okay? The mix-up of Japanese and Western beauty standards gave birth to something very stunning. A perfect anime woman with big eyes, small features, small face, small waist, small hands, and feet. But a big bust and big hips. You see where I'm getting at, right? This idealized anime woman captured the hearts of not just young men in Japan, but fans all around the globe as well. Just look around at your favorite shonen or ecchi anime. You'll find countless women with those hyper-exaggerated proportions. Fanservice is the ultimate and the dirty little secret weapon of the anime world. It's like the sprinkles on your favorite dessert, but instead of chocolate chips, it's eye candy in the form of, well, exaggerated features, especially those, bigger assets. You see, the idea is pretty simple. The animator throws in those visual feasts to keep the audience, male, entertained, or glued to their screens. And who wouldn't want to hang around for a little extra fanfare, especially when the target is younger male audiences? It's all about that attention-grabbing appeal. It's a world where stakes are very high, and yes, I'm talking about the anime world. The competition is fierce. Studios need to find ways to stand out, and what better way than with a tried-and-true formula that works? Enter pretty girls with big and exaggerated figures, because, well, it's what sells. Visual appeal is a guaranteed hit that rakes up views and, most importantly, sells merchandise. It's a bit of a give the people what they want situation, and hey, if it boosts those sales numbers, why not? As discussed earlier, when we talk about anime genres like shonen and ecchi, they're primarily made for male audiences. Now, shonen anime are packed with epic battles, emotional growth, and of course those wow moments where a female character shows up looking like she just stepped out of an impossibly stylish, gravity-defying magazine. This genre is popular because of its action, adventure, and those gorgeous anime women who are there to keep the male audience glued to their screens. Just make the female characters visually appealing, and you got a surefire way to maintain interest, even if there are dragons fighting in the background. It's a tactic aimed at keeping those core demographics hooked, tuning in week after week for a mix of action and eye candy.
My purpose is to fulfill your every want and desire. You are my master.
Now buckle up, because here's exactly where things get complicated. As most of you might not know, the term male gaze refers to how female characters are shown through a lens that focuses primarily on how they're perceived by the male viewers. In a lot of these anime series, female characters are designed to fit into that gaze, almost like they're built with a checklist in mind. Pretty face? Check. And possibly big eyes? Check. Big boobs and a small waist? You guessed it, check. Now this kind of portrayal makes a female character look superficial and shallow. I mean, nobody talks about her personality and nobody talks about her nature. Fans are all drooling over their looks rather than actually understanding their contribution to the plot. I'm not trying to be a moral police here, but if this isn't objectification, then what is? What's tricky about this is that, while it works for fan service and market appeal, it can also limit the portrayal of women in anime. Instead of giving us some complex women with rich backstories and personalities, we're given the same old parade of familiar faces. These female characters don't really have much to do besides be an accessory in the background. They're there to add flavor, sure, but it sometimes feels like the plot could march on just fine without them.
Come on. Oh, these stupid things have grown again, haven't they? There's no point in them.
Sometimes outright hilarious. And how exactly? By embracing the absurdity of it all. No term fits here better than over the top. There are many shows like High School DxD and Kill la Kill that have made this approach their bread and butter. First, let's talk about High School DxD. In this interesting anime, the main protagonist named Issei is constantly trying to, well, appreciate the female physique. The women in the series are often depicted with exaggerated features, especially in the chest area, and this is played for laughs as much as it is for visual appeal. You see, it creates a weird kind of funny balance where the viewer is entertained by the sheer audacity of it all, even if what they're seeing in front of them is ridiculously sexualized. Now similarly, Kill la Kill takes the fan service to extremes, but does it in a way that feels intentionally absurd. The protagonist, Ryuko Matoi, wears a sentient outfit that gives her ridiculous powers. The thing is that the outfit leaves her barely clothed. The design is so exaggerated that it crosses into the realm of parody. The show doesn't ask you to take the skimpy costume seriously. Instead, it almost feels like it's making fun of the anime industry's history of sexualized female characters. And what's funny is that even the characters are aware of how ridiculous their outfits are, which makes it all the more fun.
I'm stripping down too.
What? Now who's doing the mocking?
There's a moment of self-awareness in every scene, with characters like Mako Mankanshoku providing comedic commentary on the absurdity of the situations.
So unbelievably awesome!
Beyond using exaggerated humor to handle the sexualization of female characters, some anime creators take it a step further by turning the whole concept of fan service into a form of metacritique. Now, these anime series don't just lean into this trope. They dissect, analyze, and mock it all while showing it on the screen. This level of self-awareness can make even the most ridiculous examples of fan service feel intentional, rather than just eye candy thrown in to keep the audience glued to their screens. Metacritique is when creators acknowledge that the fan service exists, but instead of playing it straight, they use it as a commentary on the industry's reliance on such tactics to drive viewer engagement. It feels like the creators are asking the audience, is this really what you want? Isn't it a bit ridiculous? One of the best examples is panty and stockings with garter belt. Now, this anime takes the entire fan service trope and flips it on its head. This anime is ridiculous in every sense. The characters are hypersexualized, and it's so over the top that it feels like a satire on the entire ecchi genre. The creators of this anime series are well aware of the trope they're playing with, and are using them to poke fun at the expectations of both the industry and the audience.
Is to wake up next to some morning wood.
Is there anything hard you refuse to jump on?
Oh, stop it with the self-righteous bullshit. Everyone's got a hobby.
Yeah, that's true. I'll stick with sugar.
Want another example? No Game, No Life. In this series, the over-the-top fan service and exaggerated characters are all part of the game-like world the heroes are thrown into. And what's even funnier is that our protagonists are in on the joke with sneaky comments about their ridiculously sexualized situations. And this anime series constantly breaks the fourth wall, high-fiving the audience who are there to accept the ridiculousness of it all. It's a metagame within a game, making you question if the fan service is there for you or if you're part of the satire itself. By turning fan service into metacritique, these anime serve us with more than over-the-top characters with skimpy outfits. They force us to think that whether we like it or not, these tropes exist, and they say a lot about the audience. Are we just complicit in all of this by consuming it? Or are we supposed to get the joke? It's a clever tactic, I must say. And you know what? It works. These shows still deliver the fan service fans expect, but with a clever twist of self-awareness that makes it even more enjoyable. You get the laughs, but there's a bit more to it. A reminder that while anime be obsessed with big boobs and pretty girls, the best creators know how to turn it into something more than just a cliche. And at the end, I would like to mention a few anime episodes where the obsession with pretty girls, and yes, big boobs, is hilariously evident. Number 1. High School DxD Episode 1, I Got a Girlfriend. Right off the bat, High School DxD doesn't hide what it's about at all. Yeah, it's basically about super hot girls with big boobs. In this very first episode, we meet Isai, your typical pervy teenage protagonist, and almost immediately, we're introduced to the sexy, mysterious Rias Gremory, who has enough fan service potential to fill an entire series. The episode focuses heavily on the exaggerated designs of the female characters, especially Rias, with lingering shots that leave nothing to the imagination. Number 2. Fairy Tail Episode 78, Idolos. Fairy Tail is a very popular shonen anime, but it also doesn't shy away from fan service. In this episode, our very popular character Lucy finds herself in a situation where physical appearances, well, full on display. Lucy's character gets a spotlight in this episode because of her skimpy outfit that makes the fans drool, nothing less.
What?
I don't believe it!
What's the big idea with you sneaking around our guild like this?
Number 3. One Piece Episode 467, I Won't Run. Ace's desperate rescue operation begins. Boa Hancock, One Piece's very own pirate empress, is the perfect embodiment of anime's obsession with beauty, big personalities, and of course, those impossibly exaggerated proportions that defy all logic and physics. Now in episode 467, we really see Hancock's, assets. No, not the ones from her pirate empire, being showcased alongside her unique interactions with Luffy. Number 4. Sword Art Online, Episode 10, Crimson Killing Intent. Asuna, from SAO, is not just a great warrior, but she's also a pure eye candy for fans. Episode 10 brings us scenes where Asuna's physical features are clearly emphasized, and her relationship with Kirito takes center stage. While the show's action sequence are top-notch, it's hard to ignore moments where the camera lingers a little too long on Asuna's body. Number 5. Kill la Kill Episode 1, If Only Had Thorns Like a Thistle. Ah yes, another anime that doesn't skimp through the fan service right from the start. Ryuko's barely there outfit, which somehow gives her superpowers, is a prime example of anime's love for over-the-top character designs. But unlike other shows, Kill la Kill leans into the absurdity of it all, making fun of the very tropes it's playing with. Number 6. To Love Ru Episode 1, The Girl Who Fell from the Sky. To Love Ru is yet another anime that wastes no time showing all the treasure it's got. In the very first episode, an alien girl literally falls into the male protagonist's lap, naked of course. I mean, what could be better than that, right? From that moment on, the show is a roller coaster of awkward situations and conveniently revealing outfits. Number 7. Sekirai Episode 1, Sekirai. Want to know what Sekirai is in a nutshell? Beautiful women with superhuman abilities duking it out while looking like they came straight from the beach. The first episode introduces us to these Sekirai women with, let's just say, ample assets. The combination of intense action scenes and their overly sexualized designs makes for an interesting contrast, but let's be honest, it's mostly about the visuals. Number 8. The 7 Deadly Sins Episode 7, A Touching Reunion. Diane, the giantess from the 7 Deadly Sins, is quite literally larger than life, both in terms of power and, well, let's just say the animators didn't shy away from her physical attributes. In Episode 7, her design is front and center, with the show putting her curves on display in ways that lean heavily into fan service. Like they wanted to make sure the whole world knew to appreciate her from every possible angle. And there you have it. From the pirate empress Boa Hancock to the giantess Diane, anime sure knows how to juggle the absurd with the awe-inspiring. When it comes to its obsession with beauty, big personalities, and even bigger... well, you get the idea. At the end of the day, whether you're watching the action, the comedy, or the plot, one thing's for sure. Anime has mastered the art of mixing charm, beauty, and plenty of ridiculousness to keep us entertained.